Welcome to everybody in the Namakwa Unitarian Universalist congregation. We're glad you're here. This is a come as you are congregation, and you are welcome here just as you are. I want to extend a special welcome to our visitors. Do we have any visitors today? Welcome. We would love to have you stay. We would love to stay connected, so please sign up for our communications at the main entrance. Here at Namakwa UU, we foster a beloved community that celebrates diversity, strives for peace and justice, acts mindfully for the good of the planet, and inspires spiritual growth through a free and loving search for truth and meaning. We have some announcements this morning. Next Sunday, March 12th, come to celebrate Mother's Day with us. And a special child dedication ceremony that Reverend Dana and Janen Wright will be performing. The title of the service is, Whose Are Me? Whose are we? To whom do we belong? Who belongs to us? Next week, we celebrate all who have nurtured us and all of whom we nurture and care for. We're passing around clipboards in the congregation this morning for signing up for the Creating Theology Together workshop coming up this coming Saturday. This workshop helps you explore and name your own beliefs and see how they can combine and build with what other people care about most deeply. That's this coming Saturday, the 9th, this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please forgive me. It's led by Dana and Doug Stewart. For anyone interested in exploring joining Namakwa as members, we'll hold an Exploring Membership class Saturday, May 18th in the afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m. You can see Linda Bell, membership chair, if you're interested. This Friday, May 10th, is a Parents' Night Out hosted by Janen Wright and Cameron Stewart. Saturday, May 11th is a workshop from 9 to 3. That's the one I just mentioned, okay. Please take note of all the other events happening this week and this month on the calendar in your printed order of service. Many thanks to everyone involved in today's service. And now if you could please stand to say our affirmation. And I think it's up there. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its call. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
When it comes to religion, I presently have two loves and one ex. My present loves are UUism and Buddhism. Both of these have blessed my life in countless ways. Today, Susan and I and some of the members of our meditation class are going to share with you some of the treasures of wisdom that we have uncovered in the Buddhist tradition. There's a famous Buddhist story, you might have heard one version or another of it, about a village where everyone runs around barefoot. One day, the queen asks to be let down from her litter as she proceeds to cut her foot on a sharp stone. She realizes that her subjects must also have this situation occur, and so she summons her advisors and asks them what they should do. The advisors come up with the idea that the village should be covered in leather. Meetings are called to figure out how much leather this is going to require and how best to attach it so people don't trip on the edges. The jester watches in amusement until he can take it no more. Then he says, instead of wrapping the earth with leather, why don't you just cover your own feet? After a moment of stunned silence, the villagers realize that the jester is no fool. With the proper protection on their feet, the villagers could walk anywhere they want, even outside the village. And thus it is with us. We cannot remove all the hazards of a normal life, but we can learn wisdom that acts as shoes on our feet so that we can move freely throughout the world. The only thing we can control in any situation is ourselves. And that's one of the big ones in Buddhism. Buddhism gives us tools in understanding how the human brain works, which is what we're up against, and teaches us what part we play in our own suffering so that we can choose a better way. Shantideva, who first told this story, says, "If you want to protect your feet, wear shoes. And if you want to protect yourselves from the world's provocations, tame your mind."
Can we take a deep breath in? You'll notice that a lot of the hymns we are doing today are very meditative, to go along with the theme of meditation and finding your center. This piece, Meditation on Breathing, Sarah Dan Jones wrote back in 2001, one of the first hymns that was published in the New Hymnal. And it's a great hymn because it gives you an opportunity to kind of weave in and out, or breathe in and out, as it were, of these three lines. There's a drone that starts. If you want to look at the music, it's on 10:10, or is it 10:09? 10:09, sorry. In the hymnal, it's a little easier to follow than that. And what we're going to invite you to do is be a drone, be a melody, or be a descant. However you're feeling, and you can switch, you can move in and out, and that's the whole point of this piece. So we'll start with the breathe in, breathe out, which is the low line that you see on the hymnal, then the melody, and then the descant at will, and then we'll just kind of fade out. So start by breathing. Here we go.
Breathe in.
So I don't think we have kids old enough to participate in my wisdom story today, but it's a great gem, and so I'll share it with you. Imagine going for a walk in the woods and coming across a little dog. So you think, oh, how adorable, so cute. But when you get closer to the dog, it growls and tries to bite you. So then, we've got a little one. Hi, honey. Come on up. So if that dog tried to bite you, would you like the dog if it tried to bite you? No. Not so much, right? Your feelings would change towards this cute little animal because it tried to bite you. What would you do if a dog tried to bite you? You'd probably try to get out of there, right? You'd be surprised because first you thought it was cute, but then you realized it was savage, and so you'd want to leave. But suppose before you left, you noticed that the dog's foot was all bloody because it was caught in a trap. Would you feel sorry for the dog? Your feelings would change again towards this animal because now you understand, right? So the moral of this little story is that, understanding promotes compassion. When my kids used to come home from school and talk about, someone mean in their class, a bully or whatever, I would sometimes sit down with them and say, they probably have a really hard home life. They probably are dealing with really hard things. And I just think for all of us to remember that people aren't just mean for, no reason, that we understand the hurt involved in that, the hurt that person is dealing with, then we can summon our compassion and choose to be kind towards them. So, yeah. Thanks for coming up here. And Shirley is back there if you want to go play with the toys. Thank you. Oh, we can sing you out. I'm sorry, let's sing her out. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you every day, every night. You may go. The chalice lighting. Yeah. You want to light it?
For the chalice lighting today, we have some wisdom from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk who is no longer with us in body, but certainly is in spirit. Every morning when we wake up, we have 24 brand new hours to live. What a precious gift. We have the capacity to live in a way that these 24 hours will bring peace, joy, and happiness to ourselves and to others. Peace is present right here and now, in ourselves and in everything we do and see. The question is whether or not we are in touch with it. We don't have to travel far away to enjoy the blue sky. We don't have to leave our city or even our neighborhood to enjoy the eyes of a beautiful child. Even the air we breathe can be a source of joy. We can smile, breathe, walk, and eat our meals in a way that allows us to be in touch with the abundance of happiness that is available. We are very good at preparing to live, but not always so good at living. We have difficulty remembering that we are alive in the present moment, the only moment that there is for us to be alive. Every breath we take, every step we make can be filled with peace, joy, and serenity. We need only to be awake and alive in the present moment.
Each week, will you support the work of this congregation and all the ways we live our values in the world through your generosity? In addition to supporting this church, half of our donations support a local nonprofit organization helping us make a difference beyond our walls. The next 2 months, we're going to give to the Big Thompson Watershed, it's hard for me to say that, Watershed Coalition. Mickey McGuire is on their board. Today, BTWC is focused on developing dedicated partnerships to build resilience through projects that reduce the risk and potential impacts of natural disasters. They say our goal as a watershed coalition is to bolster the health and integrity of this critical river system for the wild natural communities that depend on it through engaging watershed residents and completing on-the-ground conservation projects. So if you would give generously, it's time for our offertory. If you want to come forward. Let's bless this offering that you've so generously given and watch it as it helps the project that it was meant for and for our congregation too. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Good morning. Simple but profound. I'm quite a novice at Buddhism, and it's kind of a journey, but most of their lessons are very simple but profound. My life journey has had several good role models which have provided me with simple but profound meanings about life. Like my grandmother, I never heard her gossip once in her entire life. And I heard her say a 4-letter bad word that started with S once, and that was it. You know, so what a lady. And then my mother, for 30 years, she never complained of back pain. When you'd ask her how she was feeling, she'd, oh, I'm fine. But she'd been in a bad car wreck, had several vertebrae crushed in her back, and I knew she was in a lot of pain on a regular basis. And the next role model is someone some of you already know or did know, the Dr. Reverend Mark Salkin from Foothills. He was a minister there for 23 years. Well, Cherry and I went in to see Mark for counseling because we had a 15-year-old girl move in with us who then we adopted, but she was kind of a wild child. So we went in to see him to get some answers and direction. And his answer was, well, when you take in a wild and spirited horse, do not expect a mild ride. And then I have a friend, Gary, who's been a close friend for about 30 years, who is a practicing Buddhist. Gary and his wife, Cherry and I, and another couple have game nights several times a year where we have dinner and then play a game. You know, when you play games, there's competition, there's people who always want to win, or get grumpy when they lose. But watching Gary over the years, it was so refreshing because he never seemed excited about trying to win, and it didn't bother him to lose. He just simply enjoyed playing the game. And then, you know, getting into the Buddhist thing, I was going to read something from Thich Nhat Hanh. He was a Zen master, but, oh, wait, I do have the book. He wrote several books, and they may be simple, but they're appropriate. So here's his book, How to Walk. The first thing to do is to lift your foot. Breathe in, put your foot down in front of you. First the heel, then your toes. Breathe out, feel your feet solid on the earth. You have already arrived. And when you walk, arrive with every step. That is walking meditation. There's nothing more to it. Thank you.
I'm going to use the metaphor of a lotus flower to speak of my meandering journey to Buddhism. The lotus is a symbol of enlightenment. It gets its sustenance from the mud it grows in. That mud is symbolic of suffering in our lives, or what the Buddhists call dukkha, and I talk about dukkha all the time anymore, just part of my vocabulary. The first time I encountered Buddhism was when I read Siddhartha in the 5th grade. I loved the book, and its exotic Tibetan setting, and Siddhartha's mysterious journey to discover the reality of the world. But I didn't really understand the part about Buddhism. I was fascinated with it, though, so I think the seed was planted. The lotus seed was planted for me. Fast forward to the 1970s and the time my brother became a teacher of transcendental meditation and taught me to meditate. With TM, each meditator has a secret mantra which is silently repeated for the purpose of focusing your mind in meditation. Sitting mindfully became an important part of my daily life. Later, as I grew into my practice, I used the Buddhist example and began my meditation with a focus on my breath. I found this natural and intuitive, and it seemed to naturally fit into my practice. The seed was watered. In college, I studied psychology and became enamored with Carl Jung's advocacy for Buddhist philosophy in his psychological practice. I toyed with how to integrate that into my approach to daily problems in my life. At about the same time, I joined All Souls Unitarian Church in Tulsa with my husband, Steve. At All Souls, I was thrilled to see there was a class on Buddhist voices and Unitarian Universalism. And I joined and quickly learned that Unitarian Transcendentalist movement sprang from the influence of Hindu and Buddhist teachings. Here is the book from that class, and I refer to it all the time. Books are important things to me, so those are my visuals. My spiritual lotus seed was receiving the sunlight of knowledge. And then approximately 10 years ago, I began to lean on my knowledge of Buddhism to help me find my way after the death of my husband. In my search for guidance, I read the book, The Places That Scare Me, by Buddhist nun Pema Chödrön. In it, Pema says, fear is a natural reaction to coming closer to the truth. And that mystified me. I'd never thought of fear in that way. But I came to realize that she meant that in confronting our fears and pushing through them, we come to a sense of understanding the true nature of life. The book became my Bible. It's here with me too, only this really isn't my copy, it's Janen's copy because I can't find mine, which is sad. I'll find it. I've learned that the only constant in life is change, and when we resist change, we suffer. As Pema says, to be fully alive, fully human, and completely awake is to be continually thrown out of the nest. I love that. So now the unfettered truth of Buddhism with a Unitarian bent is at the center of my daily life. I've found that joy is living as fully in the moment as I possibly can. The inspiration for joy is all around us if we really look. And as for being truly awakened, well, as Pema says, awakening is not a thing. It's not a goal, not a concept. It's something, not something to be attained. It is a metamorphosis, kind of like a butterfly. And again, Pema says in regard to suffering, happiness doesn't come from avoiding suffering. It comes from realizing our interconnectedness with all beings. May it be so.
And now we all have personal lives outside of these walls, and so it's important that we take a few minutes every Sunday to connect with one another. So today, if you could just turn to your neighbor and greet them and just say what's up in your life, whether good or bad, whether joyful or sorrowful. Just share something about your life with each other. Oh, and if you can look around and make sure everyone's included in a group. The twos are kind of hard.
Your husband's here. Your husband's here.
Yeah, are my boys.
And you're both boys? Oh, really?
Landon and Jordan.
Is my microphone okay? I keep messing with it. It looks fine.
You really well.
Okay.
So the running joke about Unitarian Universalists and hymn singing is that we're always behind the beat because we're too busy looking ahead to see if we agree with the words. So you're familiar with that emotion, right? So we know and love this song, so we don't have to do that. But what I am going to invite us to do is sing it through twice. And the first time through with the words, and the second time on ooh. Because I think that frees us up a little bit to not think about those words, not be so cerebral, and just feel, harmonize, breathe through it.
Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in my hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots fully close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. I've been interested in Buddhism for over 20 years now, and I have to confess that I had been meditating a long, long time before I understood that the real purpose of meditation is not to focus on our breath. To keep coming back to the breath strengthens our ability to concentrate. It helps us to be present in the moment, which is a good start. But ultimately, the purpose of meditation is about learning to access a higher consciousness level that exists inside each one of us, independent of thought. So we meditate to access our higher selves. And the hope is that if we can train to access this higher awareness in silence while meditating, we'll develop the ability to access it in our day-to-day living. Many people identify absolutely with their thoughts and emotions. They think they are their thoughts. But as soon as you step back to watch your thoughts, you're on a higher consciousness level. You're not your thoughts if you're watching your thoughts, right? Often our thoughts and emotions are ridiculous. Who knows where they come from? They just percolate out from somewhere, right? Mostly repeated from the day before. It's like we have very few original thoughts, like research says 95% of our thoughts are the same thoughts we had yesterday and the day before that, and it's very discouraging. I swear it's like, okay, she's awake, push play, and then I just, the thoughts come like what they do. But we don't have to get on board with every thought we have and let it take us for a ride. This is what we learn in meditation. We learn that we are more than just our thoughts and emotions. And this truth is so liberating. So today we're going to try an advanced meditation. So thoughts and emotions can be compared to waves on the ocean. Waves rise and fall back into the sea. Waves always keep coming, and if we spend our time in that turbulence, we are going to get tossed to and fro and seasick. The good news is there's more to us than the surface waves of thought and emotion. We are bigger than that. We are the whole ocean. When we acknowledge our bigger selves, we realize we have depths within us of deep stillness, deep peace, deep love, deep joy, and we can choose to descend out of the turmoil of the surface of our lives and into that vast wholeness of who we really are. Tara Brach says, we forget who we are. There is a yearning to come home to the truth of who we are because it's much larger than what we usually perceive ourselves to be. Our true state is one of vast peace, love, and joy. Pema Chodron says, find out for yourself about your true nature and whether or not it's true that our fundamental situation is one of peace and joy. Which echoes the Buddha when he said, don't believe anything I say. Find out for yourself by your own experience. Understand the reality of your own being. And that charge is why we meditate. So for the next couple of minutes, we will sit in silence. It's easier that way. If you like, you can close your eyes. And first, just be present to the outer world. Any sounds you might hear, the temperature, the feel of the fabric against your skin, where your body contacts the chair, the floor. And now here's the instruction, and I'll lay it out for you, and then we'll observe 2 minutes of silence to practice. So when you feel grounded in your body, try to just be as present to your inner world. Try to be just as present to your inner world as the outer world. Wait in watchfulness for the next thought to arise in your mind like a wave, and then just let it sink back into the ocean, and wait for the following thought to arise and fall. Try to observe without attaching to any particular thought. If you find yourself being swept away by waves of thought or worry or planning what's coming next, just take a breath to anchor yourself back to the present and resume your state of conscious awareness. 2 minutes can feel like a long time. It's just so simple, but so hard, and that always intrigues me, right? There are as many ways to be mindful as there are ways to be active, and everyone has to find what works for them, right? For example, if you don't like lifting weights, you can swim, or run, or play a sport, or dance. All activities exercise the body, so meditation is the formal practice of mindfulness that can take you to a new ground. I thought it would be fun to hear from Jon Kabat-Zinn this morning. He's a big player in bringing Buddhism to the secular world with his stress reduction program.
Well, I have a lot of different responses to that question, what meditation really is. But I would say that meditation is living your life as if it really mattered. And that means you got to be here for it, with awareness and with a certain degree of kindness towards oneself and an understanding of the deep interconnectedness of all life and all beings. So that's something that understanding doesn't come from here. It comes from directly connecting with the totality of your being. And the first foundation of mindfulness is the body. So that's a wonderful place to start. And so if we could just learn to tune into our own bodies and see how responsive and dynamical they are in relationship to other people, to various changing circumstances in our lives and in our own minds and so forth, then we would be able to live a life that is a kind of embodiment of clarity, wisdom, kindness, and well-being. And it's not some kind of Mount Everest that we have to climb. It's closer than close. It's in this very moment. It's in this very breath that if there's any liberation at all on the planet, it's already here as the potential. And our job, so to speak, or the calling of meditation is to learn how to see the actuality behind the veil of appearance and learn how to inhabit that dimensionality of our being that we so much ignore or take for granted. So there are lots of hidden dimensions to being human. And as we uncover them, we live much bigger and fuller and less self-centered lives. And one of the most obvious of those hidden dimensions, but nevertheless remains totally hidden, even to meditators for long stretches of time, is the present moment. The only moment that we ever are alive in, and yet most of the time we're off someplace else in the past or in the future. And scheming.
Thanks, Clay.
Well, I have a lot of different responses to that.
We watched this in class, and there was like this profound silence afterwards, and I thought everyone was as moved by the words as myself. And then Kathy said, "What I want to know is whether or not he's single." See what I have to put up with. But I love that. Practicing meditation is living your life as if it really matters. And that means you have to be there for it. So, John worked initially in prisons, and one of the first meditations he'd like to do with the inmates was a raisin meditation, where you feel and touch and smell a raisin before you mindfully eat it. He said many people that tried this would tell him that they had never really tasted a raisin before. And he commented that if we never take time to taste a raisin when we eat it, the stakes are pretty low. I mean, who cares if you taste a raisin or not? But what if we aren't there to watch our children grow up, or to prioritize the most important relationships in our life? What if we aren't there for the little things that end up being the really big things? One follows the other. So if we can learn to be totally present when eating a raisin or meditating or talking with someone, we can learn to be totally present for the things that really matter in life. So maybe I've been around kids too long, but I remember lessons best if there's an image that goes along with them. So one of my favorite gems of wisdom was given by Pema Chodron in the metaphor of a spark. Yes. This tool has been a game changer in my life. I can't even tell you, seriously. It's just profound. So a spark is anything that irritates you, anything that triggers you. And I asked my husband if I could use him as an example because it comes readily to mind. But say my husband says something to me that I find rude. Like maybe he suggests that I don't understand what I'm talking about. I don't even have a clue when I'm just trying to help. So I recognize that I've been triggered. There's the spark, right? And now I have two choices. I can choose to sit back and watch how long it takes for that spark to go out. I can even time it if I want to. 20 seconds, still mad. 40 seconds, fine. 60 seconds, okay, fine. Okay, fine. The spark goes out. It does go out. Or when I get irritated, I can add fuel to the spark until it becomes a raging bonfire. I've done this many times. We all do this, right? The way we add fuel to a spark is through our thoughts. When we pile thoughts onto the spark, that's where it gets the fire, right? Thoughts are fuel. Well, that was rude and uncalled for. I was only trying to be helpful. Come to think of it, I think he said something rude the other day, like a week ago. What was that rude thing he said to me? Never mind that I also often say what's on my mind without filtering it. My thoughts aren't going to go there. But what was that rude thing he said last week? Well, whatever it was, obviously my husband just doesn't understand me. Maybe he doesn't even love me. Maybe this marriage is doomed to failure. I exaggerate. But you can see, I hope, how my thoughts turned a small spark into a huge fire. Now I'm going to be sad or angry, and more likely than not share that with my husband. And when I do remember to step back and watch sparks just die on their own, I'm always so glad that I did, because 5 minutes later, we're laughing, having a wonderful evening together instead of having to put out a house fire. So I love that gem of wisdom from the Buddhist tradition. The power is in the pause, right? The pause allows us to choose our response. The word responsibility means we have the ability to respond, which is something we all have. Watching sparks go out instead of fanning the flame with our thought is a wonderful, wonderful mindfulness practice. Another one that I really love, and is that of a mirror and a window. Yes, when we look through a mirror, what we see is ourselves, right? Every thought we have is self-reflective and thus full of ego. We can be consumed by image, how we look, what other people think of us. Did I do the right thing? Did I say the right thing? Am I enough? Am I too much? Me, right? And when I'm looking in the mirror, I can't see any of you. I can only see myself, right? Whereas when we look through a window, we can see the whole world, right? We could, the beauty of nature, all the people in our lives, all the situations, all the possibilities, all the potential. We can see the world. So this is very powerful. We can ask ourselves at any moment that we're stressed out, am I looking through a mirror or through a window? And often just asking yourself that question helps self-correct and find freedom. That's powerful. So there are many, many gems of wisdom in Buddhist teachings that I would love to explore if we had more time. Buddhism is seriously so wise and profound and based on how to suffer less, which is something that is universally sought. I know there was one man in my class that said his dad never had the time of day for any religion, but he would have loved Buddhism because he understood suffering. He would have loved Buddhism, and I'm just so grateful that it has come to the West. I'm grateful for our meditation class here at Namakwa, which Susan and I started about 5 years ago. I know the first time we met, Shirley Rawson was the only one there with us, and it's now a wonderful class, and I look forward to it. It really is like the highlight of my week whenever we meet. We have 2 classes, one on Zoom for people that don't want to get out on Mondays, and then one in person on Wednesdays, and everybody's, of course, invited. I've got a treasure box here filled with glass mindfulness stones. I'll take it to the back there. But the idea is just to take a stone and put it in your pocket or in your car or in your purse, wherever you're going to come across it now and again. And then whenever you notice the stone, also notice where your thoughts are. Just come back to the present. Take a moment to be present and mindful. And I'll close with more words from Jon Kabat-Zinn. We meditate to discover our own identity, our right place in the scheme of the universe. Through meditation, we acquire and eventually acknowledge our connection to an inner power source that has the ability to transform our outer world. May it be so, and namaste.
Go ahead and sit down. Now I want you to all imagine that you're ducks. And you're on the ocean, and the ocean is vast. The duck represents you as a meditator or as just a spirit of life floating on the universe. And when you meditate, that image really helps with the meditation. Okay, we're all ducks, and we're all riding on the ocean, 100 feet beyond the surf. And the duck cuddles the waves and the swells. There's a big heaving in the Atlantic, and he's part of it. He can rest while the Atlantic heaves because he rests in the Atlantic. He's a part of the Atlantic. Probably he doesn't know how large the ocean is, and neither do you. But he realizes it. And what does he do, I ask you? He sits down in it. He reposes in the immediate as if it were infinity, which it is. It's the present moment. That is religion, and the duck has it. How about you? And this was not original. It was by Donald C. Babcock, and I think a lot of people have heard the duck meditation. Thank you. May it be so. And like to join us in Parker Hall after the service, we'd love to have you. Welcome to everybody. I'm so glad you're all here. And Janen and I just love doing this together. We've become like sisters, I think.